Greetings, my name is Reverend Casey Carbone, and I am the pastor here at the First Presbyterian Church of Mahopac. On this gorgeous day, I thought that I would share with you some updates regarding our reopening plan or reopening strategy. Starting with at the last session meeting, your elders elected to adopt a safety action plan, which will help govern the structure of an outdoor worship service during this time where we are still socially distancing from one another. So to help you better understand what is expected of you and how worship will be a little different than what it was before, I hope that this video presentation will provide some clarity as to what those rules or guidelines or expectations of you are, as we hopefully will begin to gather to worship in an outdoor service sometime maybe around the third Sunday of July. So to help you once again better understand what is expected of you and what rules and guidelines are in place, please pay attention to this reopening guideline video. For those who are worship leaders, such as myself or our organist, or any volunteers who help set up for outdoor worship, we will require that you fill out a self-assessment test, which is basically saying whether you are confirming a negative interaction to COVID-19 or a positive reaction to COVID-19. If you test negative, you are fine to resume helping us set up for worship. But if you choose a positive answer, we ask that you please do not come to worship and that you please seek the medical testing or medical help that you may need at that time. This medical self-assessment for COVID-19 is only mandatory for those who are worship leaders or staff or volunteers. It is not mandatory for those who are attending an outdoor worship service. But we of course ask that even if you are attending our outdoor service, that you strongly consider helping us take care of one another by filling out this very easy self-assessment form that you can do on your phone. Also, part of this safety plan is asking that those who are attending wear one of these, that they wear a mask. And of course, if you don't know how to put on a mask, you loop it over your ears. And you make sure that it's covering your nose and your mouth. And so we ask that as you come down to our outdoor worship area from behind our parking lot here, that you make sure you have one of these on as you make your way down to the worship space, and as you also exit out from the worship space as well. Once you're seated down, you'll see that there's areas on the ground that are marked out for 6 feet apart. And once everyone is seated and spaced out, you are free to take off your mask during that time. But we still strongly encourage you to consider leaving it on even if you are not walking around. So that way we can take better care of not only our own bodies and our own health, but to also look out for the health and well-being of those around us. Now, I should also mention that we are still strongly encouraging those who are in the high-risk category to continue worshiping with us virtually during this time. We will still be live streaming, and I want to emphasize that we are not sacrificing what we do on Sunday virtually. That this may be an opportunity for some folks if they would like to gather for a socially distanced outdoor service. But we are still planning on live streaming that with the materials that you have been used to seeing on Sunday morning. So if you are in the high-risk category or do not feel ready yet to return to any kind of in-person gathering, know that that is okay, and that you are more than welcome to continue worshiping with us online and virtually on both Facebook and YouTube Live. You see behind me that there are benches in our outdoor worship space. I'd like to say that we plan on reserving these benches for those who come from a household or a family unit, or those who have been living together, as to help limit those who may have to bring seating for themselves And so these benches will be organized in such a way where they are kept an acceptable distance apart from one another, following a 6-foot rule, and they'll be reserved for those who are living in a household with others, household units, or those who are family units. Those who are family units as well. Talking about seating, you'll see that I have a lawn chair here with me, and on the ground we will have marked out spaces that are 6 feet apart from one another, where you can place a lawn chair to sit as we worship together. Unfortunately, during this time, we don't have the means to sanitize and disinfect all of the chairs that we have at our disposal. So we ask that if you are planning to attend this outdoor worship service, that you please bring a chair of your own, like a camping chair, to provide yourself a place to sit. Because we are doing everything we can to create a safe worshiping environment, I should also add that if you have little children or kids, those who may be tempted to run around, you may choose to still continue worshiping with us virtually. Because during this time of outdoor worship, we would ask that if you have any little ones who may run around, that you keep them with you in your little seating bubble, I guess you might say. So that is another thing to take into consideration as we prepare and plan for outdoor worship services. I would like to just say that besides requiring that you wear a face mask coming down to and leaving the worship space, and bringing a lawn chair to sit in, unless you're a family unit, there are some benches here that we have available. Some other things you would want to consider is that there are plans in place to allow those who may need to use them, the restrooms that we have downstairs here in the CE building. But those are rules and regulations that we can go over at a different time. However, I should note that worship will be structured differently. What we have been doing now virtually has been relatively close to what we've done in our regular in-person worship services. However, once we begin to resume an in-person worship service, even outside, some parts of worship will be different. I'm hoping that we can still capture some of the essential things of what makes coming to worship, but in order to help encourage all of you to gather together and then to disperse, I guess, as soon as possible after service in a way that's safe and orderly, the services will be slightly shorter than what they've been in the past, just to promote a quick in and a quick out type of feel. So unfortunately, though, as well, that means that things such as group singing and communal prayers are something we will have to limit for the time being. Not only because it is, from what studies have shown, to be unsafe, it's also something that may not always work for us in this outdoor space. But I should note that if you are someone who has sung in the choir or has musical gifts and abilities, we will structure our service to allow a time for a soloist to perhaps either lead us in a song or a hymn, as all of us simply listen and take in that gift of music that someone is offering. These are just the expectations I hope to lay out for what you may expect at our outdoor worship service. I'm hoping that these services provide a chance for some of you to see one another. But be sort of warned, I guess, up front now, though, these are services where we will not engage in any kind of physical touch like we have in the past. We won't be shaking each other's hands. We won't be hugging one another. You'll have to get a little more creative than that. Perhaps giving someone a slight bow as they do in other cultures and traditions. Perhaps it means waving to someone, giving someone a waving of the hand. These are things that are necessary as we consider what a safe worship environment looks like. And I would like you to just know that if we aren't able to abide by these guidelines, which are meant to help keep us healthy and safe, and to not only protect ourselves but others, then we will continue to resume a virtual worship service like we have for the past handful of months. We hope that an in-person outdoor worship service can help fill some of the spiritual needs you may have felt were missing these past few months. But we want to do so and fulfill those needs in a way that is socially responsible, in a way where we uphold not only one another, but we uphold God's law of love, as I keep saying again and again. God's holy law of love that shows us what it means to live for other people. And so, friends, I hope that as we begin to explore outdoor worship, hopefully sometime soon, starting in July, that this will be new territory for us. It'll be new ground. And I hope that if you haven't already done so, consider helping to volunteer. Because that is the very last thing I should end with, is that all of this is really dependent on you. If we don't have volunteers, then we won't be able to do it on a particular Sunday. And of course, if it rains, then that also means we'll have to adapt by going back to the way we worshiped before for that Sunday. So as we go forward with outdoor worship, please keep an eye out for any updates on Facebook or via email on Sunday mornings in case the weather is looking a little bad out. And I know I said it before, but I want to close by saying this. That if you choose to continue worshiping at home, that if you choose to continue worshiping wherever it is you may be, virtually, that is fine. That is okay. That is more than acceptable. Why? Because I just said it before, that worship here at the First Presbyterian Church of Mahopac is meant to be a place where all can come to the table and be fed. It's a table, a spiritual table, that some may feel comfortable coming back to. But it's also a table where we need to provide for all those in whatever moment in life they are. So if you choose to continue worshiping at home, please know that our online virtual worship experience will not have a sacrifice quality to it. We hope that we can bring you virtually with us into this outdoor sanctuary, as I like to call it. And I pray that as we go forward together with one another, we hold one another in prayer, knowing that God is walking with us during this season of life and faith. So thank you, friends, and I hope to see you sometime soon. God bless.